Good morning, everyone. Welcome to TUMO. Welcome to the second final of the Aurora Humanitarian Project for UWC Schools and Colleges, which is part of the Aurora Gratitude Initiative. It's such a pleasure to see all of you here. Thank you for coming. My name is Hannah Tümpel. I'm the Director of Communications and Engagement with UWC International in London, and it's my honor and pleasure to be allowed to moderate this event for you today. Let me start by thanking those without whom we wouldn't be here. First of all, Veronica Sonneband, who is the heart and soul behind this whole project. Secondly, Nuba Afeyan, co-founder of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. And thirdly, and importantly, Vartan Grigorian, a living legend who is with us today, and we are especially pleased that you could make it again this year. Welcome. Secondly, let me thank our hosts, the TUMO Center for Creative Technologies, where we can use the amazing premises today. And I don't know how you feel about it, but when I saw the computer labs here, I thought that after this event, I will find out how I can get to study here. It's quite impressive. And we have a room full of wonderful people, TUMO students and alumni, UWC students and alumni, members of the Aurora projects, which will take place during the coming days, and then, of course, our fantastic jury. Let me welcome them, although many of them don't really need an introduction because you all of them know them really well. Firstly, welcome to Mary Robinson, former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights and former President of Ireland and founder of the Mary Robinson Foundation for Climate Justice and a role model for many of us. Welcome. Welcome to Gareth Evans, former Australian Foreign Minister and President Emeritus of the International Crisis Group. Wonderful to have you here. Thirdly, Jill Longson, who was already on the final jury last year, Governor of UWC Atlantic College and former Vice Chair of UWC International. Welcome, Jill. Fourthly, Diane Robinson, Global Special Project Lead for Teach for All, based out of New York. And last but certainly not least, the man I already mentioned before, Nuba Afeyan, one of the co-founders of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, founder and CEO of Flagship Pioneering, scientific innovator, entrepreneur, and especially philanthropist. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for dedicating your time and experience and wisdom to the next generation today in what we all know is a very busy week and a full schedule. The Aurora Humanitarian Project for UWC Schools and Colleges, or as we refer to it, AHP, aims to encourage UWC students to engage while they are still at school in an economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable and practical manner with current humanitarian concerns which affect the communities in the vicinity of their school. In other words, it gives young people in the age from 16 to 18 the chance to be drivers for change towards a better world with regard to an area of concern they have identified. And by doing so, it teaches them to be the change they want to see. So why all of this for UWC, some of you might ask, or others will probably even ask, what actually is UWC? So let me briefly introduce the United World Colleges to you. The UWC movement is a global educational movement with a mission to make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. UWC delivers its mission through a network of 17 schools, which you see on this slide, worldwide, which are attended by students from over 160 countries. What is truly unique about UWC is that its students are selected by a network of 160 national committees worldwide. And you see all the countries which are in blue or in dark means that their national committee is there. So this is where you see the global reach of UWC. And the students are selected independent of their socioeconomic background. So in other words, when you want to attend UWC and when you apply, it doesn't matter where you come from or whether you can pay for this education. It only matters whether you are passionate about changing the world and have the drive to make it happen. And this is where the connection to Aurora happens, because we believe that within UWC we already have young change makers, and Aurora is kind enough to give them an additional platform to actually test their abilities to make and have an impact. And if you want to know more, you should visit the website uwc.org. A bit over a year ago, we already met in Armenia, and some of you were there during the first year of the Aurora Humanitarian Project for UWC. Since then, a lot of things have happened. We had presidents comparing the size of their buttons. The number of displaced people worldwide continues to increase dramatically. Political parties who preach xenophobia and racism have won in many countries more votes than we had ever imagined or dared to imagine. And those who want to build walls instead of bridges still have voices which are being heard. But at the same time, I think it has also been a year in which we have seen change. The Me Too debate shook up the world and suddenly gave a space for women to be listened to where they thought nobody would ever listen to. Presidents shook hands and crossed each other borders in a moment when we didn't expect it. More women than ever run for political office. Young people in many parts of the world demand a more just world, for example, as part of the March for Our Lives. And last but not least, this country, driven by many young people, has seen the power of a peaceful revolution. The AHP is therefore, I believe, as relevant as ever before, because I do think that the one pendulum we can make swing maybe towards a better world and towards real change in the future is the one in the hands of young people, and we need to empower and encourage them to do so. Before we hear from the three finalist teams who are sitting here with probably increasing adrenaline levels, we have a few great speakers, however, we can hear from. So I would ask you to make sure that your mobile devices are on silent and that you have, however, noted down the hashtags, because there will be a lot of live tweeting and you can join the conversation with all your comments and questions online, and we will be picking that up. And I would then like to welcome both Sylvia and Sam Simonian, the co-founders of the TUMO Center, and invite Sam to come up and say a few words of welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have the pleasure on behalf of UWC and Aurora to welcome you to our TUMO Center. First, my sincere congratulations to the people of Armenia and the leadership of Mr. Pashinyan for their peaceful and one-of-a-kind revolution. As many of us in the diaspora, I also was constantly glued to my laptop and spent sleepless nights following the tense events minute by minute on YouTube. Remarkable was the engagement of the youth, their enthusiasm to reject corruption and to transform their homeland into a true, democratic, and just system for all of its citizens is truly contagious and courageous. My wife and I first met Veronica and Ruben about 7 years ago at this very hall. And since then, we have cooperated in many projects together, as our missions to improve the educational platform have aligned. Striving toward economic growth by merely establishing factories for the masses is not a workable solution anymore for any nation, even ones rich in natural resources. Fortunately, though, the connected global economy offers infinite opportunities for all those who embrace technology, self-learning, hard work, creativity, and entrepreneurship as their basic human work values. But how to teach these values to the next generation is not an easy task, and integrating them into 1,500 or so public schools is a daunting and a long-term ambition. When we think about transforming education, we often neglect the role of the private sector, which would expedite change by supplementing the deficiencies in the public institutions. In Armenia, we have successfully addressed this notion with our TUMO Center for Creative Technologies, the most innovative after-school program in the world, according to the prestigious French magazine Oui Demain. What is TUMO? TUMO is a 2-year after-school program for kids between the ages of 12 to 18. The center, as you see, is a large, futuristic technology/art studio with tons of computers, mobile pads, cameras, robots, drones, audio and video recording rooms, 3D theater, and many work areas where kids come and engage twice a week. They select their own career path, and through online exercises, workshops, and real-life projects, working in teams, and led by professionals who come from all over the world to mentor and teach the latest trends and techniques. It is free of charge, open to all without exception. There are no grades, and every kid can progress at his or her own pace. Teams are grouped by skill set and not age. And instead of diplomas, they graduate with a portfolio of their works and projects and armed with the latest technological skills. We currently have 4 operating centers in Armenia, with another 2 in the works. Internationally, we will have Paris, Beirut, and Tirana opening soon. The one we are in now is the flagship TUMO that currently serves 10,000 kids, soon to expand to make room for another 2,000 on our waiting list. I'd like to especially welcome the UWC teams from China, India, and South Africa, and I cannot wait to hear their good stories. To the youth here, I wish you a very fruitful future. Empower yourselves with knowledge. Encourage each other to progress, because the collective have a more powerful voice. And when you make it big, I urge you to invest in civic institutions and your communities during your lifetime. Thank you.
Connected, we have a stronger voice. What a beautiful sentence. Thank you so much, Sam. Working in education, I often hear or visit educational projects where I think, oh gosh, there's so much we need to change in this field. And then you come to flagships like this and you think, wow, there are real lighthouses where that is happening, what the future needs. So thank you for making that possible. What a fantastic initiative and place. I would now like to move to our keynote speaker, Umra Omar. Umra was born in Mombasa, Kenya, and then grew up in rural Kenya. At the age of 17, Umra won a scholarship to attend UWC Atlantic College in the UK. After graduating from there, she went on to study neuroscience and psychology in the US and obtained a master's degree in social justice and intercultural relations. But in 2010, she moved back to her home country, Kenya, started working for Open Society Initiative for Eastern Africa, and then in 2015, she founded Safari Doctors, which provides free medical services and supports healthcare workers in the Lamu County to improve access to healthcare in remote areas. And I'm sure she will tell us more about that today. CNN awarded Umra in 2016 as a CNN hero for the work she has been doing by founding Safari Doctors. Umra, it's a real joy to have you here, and I can't wait to listen to you and to learn from you. Welcome.
Thank you, Asante, to the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, the tireless organizers behind this, and ladies and gentlemen, as you can hear my heartbeat happening, and specifically to the UWC cult that I call the love of my life. Thank you all for being here. Good morning to us all. That requires a response. Good morning. So after confirming my attendance to this lovely event and with all the intimidation at the TUMO Center, where I actually was thinking maybe I need to move to Armenia with my kids just so that they could come here, it's quite a special feeling to be in front of you. And the reality then sunk in that I'm actually supposed to have something valuable to share with you. So I had to do a little exercise to calm my nerves. And I thought back to the commencement in 2006 of my college graduation. What a beautiful exercise. I remember nothing from the commencement, not who spoke or where it was. So this is reassuring to me, meaning that I'm allowed to fumble today. I remember it was in 2002 when I first started attending UWC. And in the first few days, we went to this supermarket. I think it was called Summerfield. Pelham, I'm not sure. Yeah, Summerfield. And on lane 2 at the supermarket was the dessert aisle. And I remember seeing the biggest chocolate chip cookie I had ever seen in my life. And next to that chocolate chip cookie was this donut that was mercilessly sprinkled in sugar. And I had to make this decision. This might sound very trivial, but it's very serious. I had to make probably a very big philosophical decision of my life at that time. And that was, I didn't have my parents, Mama and Baba were not hovering over my shoulder as to what's right, what's wrong, what I should eat, or what I shouldn't. And at the same time, I had to balance the accounts. You know, we all got pocket money when we started. You go to the house parents every Thursday, it was for us. So it's balancing the books, you know, what money do I have, what do I need for laundry, you know. I have no income generating activities, so this was just cash out. Should I buy the cookie? Should I not buy the cookie? To buy or not to buy? And I bought the cookie. And in this moment of buying the cookie, which is what brings me to what I want to talk to us about today, is about a sweet spot. There is some sweet spot in life that we all, at some point or the other, try to latch onto. So my sweet spot that I want to share with you today is Safari Doctors and more sweet spots that will come up at one point or the other. And I'm definitely guided by that chocolate chip feeling in a lot of what I choose to do in life, the decisions that we make. So our work with Safari Doctors, I'm going to ask for slide number 1, is to navigate the terrain. We sail around the Lamu archipelago for 3 to 4 days, and then we loop in on the road for 2 days. So we visit about a dozen villages. I'm going to go to the next slide, which is a map. No, that's the map. So to give you a geographic idea, we're in Lamu, which is one of the 47 counties of Kenya. And Lamu right now boasts the highest maternal mortality rates and infant mortality rates, and that's what we're trying to address as Safari Doctors, is getting primary health care at a point before our communities would require secondary health. So we start off at the bottom left of the screen, and that big boat is what we use to sail up north, stopping at an island, Tangawanda, going up to Kiangwe. That's a no-go travel advisory zone, all the way up north to the right hand of your screen. That's by sea. And then to loop around the Mararani, Mangai, Basuba, Milimani, coming back to Lamu. So that's our loop, our travel loop at the moment. And we stop at every village with doctors and medicines and just conduct basic primary health clinics. So we also include donkeys, cats, and dogs in our journey because veterinary service is a component that we started offering at the beginning of this year. And what we do is operate between the presence of Kenyan military and the Al-Shabaab, as we're very close to the Somali border. Al-Shabaab is what's given us a bad reputation in the work that we do, from travel advisories to the closing down of medical dispensaries in some of these villages. In addition to the outreach, we conduct a health ambassador program, so enabling young people to go into their communities and offer health education. And we're starting out in advocacy. I hope I have not lost too many of you so far. Are we still together? Okay, so let's get back to that sweet spot that I was talking about earlier on. And this is the sport that will allow us to embrace the importance of humanitarian values in the work that we do. So according to my best friend, who goes by the name Wikipedia, the sweet spot is a place where a combination of factors come together to give us the maximum force, right? A combination of factors come together to give us maximum force in what we do. And for example, in many sports that require a swinging motion, this is where the ball will hit the racket and get the biggest rebound. To audiophiles and engineers, this is where all wavefronts arrive at the same time so that you can hear the sound the way it's intended for you to hear. In economics, I didn't know the sweet spot was also in economics. And this is the point where an indicator of policy provides the optimal balance of costs and benefits. I obviously did not study economics, so I have no idea what that means. In the human anatomy, the sweet spot is the center of sexual pleasure. I think I know what that means. My favorite version of the sweet spot is this right here, which is what the UWC is a tool in helping us embody. So we have what we're really good at, and what we're really good at most likely means that we're gonna get paid for doing that. So that's taken care of there. And then it's what you love, your passion, and what is it that makes you wake up in the morning, combined with what serves the world, all right? So if you're really good at something and you don't love it, then it's not gonna work. Do we agree? If you're really good at it, but you don't love it, it's not gonna work. Okay, so if you love something and it's serving the world, but you suck at doing it, it's not going to last for too long, okay? Very short-lived. If you love what you're doing, you're really good at it, and it's making a difference. That's the sweet spot I want us to think about as we go on for the rest of the chat. So what we're doing is not new with Safari Doctors. There have been other organizations that have done it. Actually, we got the blueprint from an organization that used to do the same exact thing. What is different, though, is that the security landscape in Lamu took a major hit when a couple of kidnappings occurred in 2011, followed by some terror attacks that came into the forefront in 2014. So what happened is that initiatives pulled out of Lamu. What we did is that's where we dove into Lamu. And we're not the first to take such a risk, and definitely not the last to do so. We're here today because of the men and women that have risked their lives, not as a lesson to be learned or an experiment, but as a reality of compassion in its purest form. We honor the brave saviors who found comfort in the discomfort of risking their lives. These are people who found the comfort of existence by giving comfort to somebody else who does not have it, so that fellow human beings may live with the dignity of experiencing a better tomorrow. History has no leniency, my friends, and we are mercilessly writing it today. The Armenian genocide 1915 to 1923 is a lesson that is not over. As I speak here today, modern-day slavery markets are alive and thriving, with hundreds of African refugees and migrants being bought and sold in Libya. The failure of leadership to condemn violence against the Rohingya Muslims is absolutely mind-blowing. 5 million are reported to have been killed between 1997 and 2003 in Congo. And 13 million to date are still in need of humanitarian aid. Not to mention that these are like figures that might be abstract, but the 17 million Yemeni, 2 out of 3 people, that's 2 out of 3 of us, not knowing where the next meal is coming from for that day. And it's gotten to a point where we don't even know who's really fighting who anymore, because even the foot soldiers in Congo are killing their neighbors, but have no idea why they're doing it. And the question to us is, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about 8-month-old Leila Al-Handour that passed away recently, to make sure that she'd not die in vain as we watch the Palestinian genocide in progress as we speak? We're operating in a world that's loaded with information bias, as exposed by the Aurora Humanitarian Index. It's actually been leading to a delusional understanding of our world, where the global refugee crisis, mainly hosted by countries like Turkey, Lebanon, and my beloved Kenya, as I came to discover, but yet we had the British going all bonkers and voting for Brexit because of this fear of the other. We have this misconception on the gravity of terrorism and who's a terrorist, yet 2018 has been deadlier for American students due to gun violence. Actually, you stand a better chance of being in the military than you do being a student in America as far as surviving is concerned. So our job is to step out of the comfort zone. I dare you to just step out of that comfort zone, which I'm sure many of us are already doing, and be the truth. Be neutral, be impartial, be independent in your thoughts. Instead of scrolling down through, the likes and double tapping what's hot for you, I dare you to click on the profile of what you do not like and find out why you don't like it, and let change start from there as opposed to like-minded followings. It's what a UWC education has done is given us the tools and the networks to navigate this so-called uncomfortable terrain to fulfill a purpose beyond the self. Sorry. It's what's done for me is UWC has taught me to unapologetically trust in myself and feel like I could trust in the world and kind of focus on that. So I know we just came from very heavy statistics. It's not all in gloom. So let's talk a little bit about trusting yourself. So before you can make any difference in your world, you first have to gain trust, right? You first have to gain trust. So back to my best friend, Wikipedia. I'm going to do this word for word. So trust is that firm belief, like the force of the UWC education firm, that there's a reliability, truth, or ability in someone or something. We agree on that definition? Anyone negating or has something to add? So it's that firm ability and reliability. So we grew up trained and conditioned to place our trust in something, to have no doubt in what God has to offer, to rely on the SAT scores to determine what college you're going to go to. It's all about what the world determines who we are, right? So my question is, how much do you trust yourself? Because that's the core right there, is how much do you trust yourself unapologetically to where you are today? A few months ago in our outreach clinic, actually I lost all the trust that I had in myself. And I was like, why am I doing what we're doing? Again, remind me. We had this reproductive health program, the project that we're doing on menstruation. And it was about getting menstruation cups to the communities that need it the most. And this is supposed to be revolutionary. I'm talking like TUMO Center revolution, where a woman could have this cup. Women that don't have access to pads or tampons, kids are missing schools. And sorry if I'm making anyone uncomfortable, but this is something we go through 7 years of our lifetime. So we go to the community, and I have actually a slide that shows that on what Oh, this is Armina from Armenia, who was at our outreach clinics. Next slide, please. So here we are at the top, and it's in a village called Kiangwe. About 3 dozen women are there, and I thought we had it all under control, translated our material. I carried my laptop. We had a video downloaded in time because there's no network. And at the end of this session, which was more like a lecture, that I felt like we had brought the best thing since sliced bread, only 3 women came up to us saying that they thought this would work for them. And that was really heartbreaking because I feel like only 3 women trusted that we had this thing that could make a difference in their lives. And so fast forward a couple of clinics later, reluctantly, as we're going out, I see this box still laying around over there, and I figured, you know, what the H, let's take it along. So we take it along, and as I get, we're now standing in line, there's a long line, we're out in the sun, it's hot, and I'm like, you know what, let's give it another try. So I go up to one of the ladies and I whisper in her ear, and I say, Aisha, I think I have a secret for you that I want to share. And she looked at me like, okay, what's this crazy girl got to share? So 10 of us ended up going into this small hut, which is the image at the bottom, as you can see, looks a little more clandestine, and you know, it's dark what's happening in there. And I warned the women, as I'm warning you, that in order to share my little secret, I'm going to have to take my pants off. And that was probably one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was too late. And so out came, with all the confidence in the world and all the conviction, because something deep down told me that this is the right thing to do. Urma, just trust your gut. And I took out this cup that I happened to be wearing that day, and led to perhaps one of the most profound programming, reproductive health discussions that we ever had in the 3 years of Safari Doctors. And every single woman walked out of there with this cup that was supposed to change their life. And I warned them, I was like, you know what, before you take it, and if you're going to use it as like a door stopper, or your kid is going to be playing with it with a chicken, please do not take it. And this lady stood up, and her response was, Umrah, we trust you. Like, we've seen that this works for you, and we trust you. So we trust us. We will use it the right way. And that was, for me, a vulnerable moment that actually reinforced the feeling of trust your gut. Like, just throw everything else out of the window, and let's agree to trust our guts. I think I'll make a pact at the end of this chat, okay? About trusting our guts. So we get asked, why do we do what we do? I get asked a lot, why do you get on the road? The next slide answers why we do what we do, and that's because of something that's called compassion. It's something that is, it happens over your lifetime, and coming home from school when we're kids, and like literally having no bedroom anymore. I don't know how many of us have gotten through that experience. Somebody has moved into your bedroom, and within 10 hours, it's no longer yours, and neither is your towel that you used that morning, only to find out that it's damper than how you left it. So growing up in Nairobi, there was a room, or rather a store, that was converted into a room that we called the IDP camp. Because my sisters and I considered ourselves internally displaced whenever a guest came over to visit. And our house served as some sort of a transit corridor to family members and to even strangers that came up to the city for all sorts of services. It was either medical, immigration, tourism, you name it. And my parents pretty much hosted it. So some of the 2 days out of when people are traveling in and out of the countries, other came for 2 months for a kidney transplant. One stranger came for 7 years. I'm talking years. It was, you know, a student who was studying medicine but had no family in the city, so now she's going to stay with us. And my parents engraved in their 3 daughters that we are the keepers of our tribe. Like, you're your brother's keeper, you're your sister's keeper. And what the UWC has done is given this tribe an even bigger meaning. I'm talking like stretched it beyond its elastic possibilities. While attending AC, any ACers up in here? Thank you. I know, there's just three of us. Sorry, we'll contain our excitement. So I had a roommate, and her name Vanessa. She was South Korean in Argentina, and it put a whole new meaning. You know, I'd look at her phenotypic expressions, and then see her dancing salsa and speaking Spanish, and it kind of like throws off your whole scale of assessment. And then we had, Patrick. And Patrick, he was the one guy that could call home, and my dad would not freak out. Patrick was Rwandese, and he'd gone through the genocide. And this young man had such calmness and wisdom in his voice that even my dad wasn't intimidated. That it was, like a young guy just calling to make a lot of hula-baloo. And so this is what UWC does. It's like it just changes your whole metric system on what the other is or what a stereotype would be. And one of the most profound experiences for me, other than Pelham's class, Peace and Conflict Studies, is it's nice to see you, Jill, because the Go Make a Difference project had everything to do with why I'm standing here today. And Jill, class of 81, with her husband, we got a grant, which is why we're here today, is to see how many of us are gonna keep, actually we're all gonna keep going this with the cycle, despite of whether you get a grant or not. You're already a winner just by being here and breathing that UWC blood. So Jill, I'm still running around doing that Go Mad project. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna warn you as I run out of air that the UWC Make a Difference bugs has severe long-term effects. I'm talking major. And may the side effects turn you into warriors of justice in every single act possible. So I want to take this moment, if I go to the next slide, is to acknowledge my warriors of justice that are currently fighting the establishment of a coal power plant in our beautiful Lamu. A coal power plant in 2018. When you have the likes of an establishment like an American company, General Electric, boasting of ultra, super clean, critical technology. Ultra, super clean, critical technology for a coal plant to be built near pristine UNESCO World Heritage Site. You know that there are too many C's in this one sentence to cover up the real C word. The real C word here is coal. And you, my dear friends, will be facing these big words and these big companies with million-dollar eyeballs that you'll be dealing with in the humanitarian crisis that we face in our world today. It's companies and people that see women and children and our environment merely as disposable collateral damage. But not all is gloom. Allow me to finish with just a little experience of the next slide, which is our tiny school called Shamba La Shela. And this is our motto, is to explore, discover, and evolve. So being in Lamu and doing what I do is that the challenge was, where do I take my kids to school? And we decided to create our own mini UWC. I told you that bug is infectious. You kind of find all crazy things that you can do. And here we have, Kelvin's carrying the wood. They're building their little classroom. And this is not like an activity or extracurricular. This is learning in motion. This is what I learned to value as education. It's what you create from the world around you. From the yoga to the litter cleaning, to the donkey bus, as we call it, these are as important as the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. This is what the center is about that we're here today. This is what you're here for today. And to my last slide, I had a quick chat yesterday to find out from one of the students what could be a take-home. And the question was, how do we tone down the UWC-ness in us so that we don't freak people out? And my question to that, my response to that would be, don't bother. Don't you dare bother to tone down the UWC in you, because you over here be surprised at how infectious that would be, because our work is to ride on the wave of hope and bring in our piece of the puzzle. So don't get overwhelmed. Just bring in your piece of the puzzle to the game so that the big picture can take its course. Give yourself credit, because UWC did not change who you are. UWC is reveal. All it did is reveal what you're made of. And so never opt to blend in. Why opt to blend in when we're actually designed to stand out? We are here in Yerevan today because we value souls over sales. We seek to dissect facts instead of just making pacts. What we vow is not to be the club of the mighty, but to be the shield of those that need us the most. So today I wish you purposeful, rewarding, relentlessness in creating that sweet spot, creating that something that you really love, that you do better than anyone else can do, and that serves humanity. May you be that chocolate chip cookie in your world. So thank you, guys.
What an amazing and inspiring speech. Thank you so much, Aurora. Don't talk, act. Don't say, show. Don't promise, prove. It's something I will remember. I think that's a good guiding star. And thank you for really living the UWC mission. Sometimes I think all of us working for UWC wonder why we are doing all of this, and then we listen to an alumna like this, and then we say, yeah, that's why. So let's now move on to the reason why we are here. The final of the 2018 Aurora Humanitarian Project. As last year, all 17 UWC schools and colleges were invited to submit a project proposal. In a very competitive pre-selection process, the 3 finalists were chosen, and they are here today. As you heard before, they have traveled here from China, Swaziland, and India, and they are competing today about the first prize to win $4,000. And of course, they all came here for the chance to speak in front of you and to meet the members of the Aurora community during the coming days. So I think we will now first do a collective exercise for the 3 teams, and that is that we will collectively once breathe in and breathe out, because everything is going to be okay. And all 3 of you are already winners because you made it to Armenia and you are here. So let's start with a round of applause for the 3 finalists. As you will see now, and that is the moment when the jury will now start to have to take notes and be extra attentive, each of the teams has prepared a short video which is presenting their project. And after that, 2 members of the team will give you some more information about their project. For the first project, I invite you to travel with me to China. In the UWC world, this is where we are going, and more specifically to UWC Changshu. Project Hope will be presented by Xi Yang and Xu Ying, both from China. Xi Yang is interested in social and political issues, but her real dream job is to be a writer and comedian who discusses and presents social issues in a humorous way. And Xu Ying is passionate about social services and literature. So let's watch the video of Project Hope, and can I invite these 2 students to come up, and then the microphones will be handed to you. Good luck.
Our project was first inspired by a Korean movie called Silenced, in which the children are sexually abused by the principal in school for years. Many of them commit suicides or even suffer deeply. That night, I couldn't fall asleep. Then we conducted surveys and interviews with the students and teachers in our local schools and realized how serious this issue is in China. So we just wanted to do something about it, to change the situation and to make a difference in someone else's life. Each year in China, only 1 out of 8 child sexual abuse cases is reported, and 69% of the victims are abused by their family members. We realized that the lack of prevention education is the main cause of the issue. We initiated the project and cooperated with the largest NGO in China in the field of anti-child sexual abuse, which is called Girls Protecting. We thus become their first and the only local student teaching team of the organization. They licensed us their professional teaching plans developed by experts. So all of the members in our teaching department have to memorize this 10-page long teaching plan and pass a rigorous simulation test, and finally get the certificate as a professional lecturer.
So the first part of our project focuses on the direct education in the local community. We have cooperation with the local primary schools and middle schools. Once the students of our team have got the certificates, they go to those schools to give classes and to distribute the booklets to reinforce the knowledge. And then, after class, we give students the surveys to get some feedback on the class qualities, or if someone has ever felt uncomfortable about the class content, or if just someone has any further questions. And we also keep in touch with those students who want to have further communication with us to just be sure that if someone has ever been sexually abused, they can find a way to seek for help. Till now, we have covered over 2,000 students.
The second part of our project is the cooperation with the local government. We together have built a comprehensive protection system for anti-child sexual abuse in our city. The first sector is education. We will gather all the female teachers from all the kindergartens and primary schools for a weekend-long training program to train them to become professional lecturers, so that all the students in the city will be covered. The second is legislation. We're now negotiating with the local procuratorate to develop the system of forbidding the criminals who committed child sexual abuse from working in the field of education, and the system of disclosing their personal information to the general public. The third is that we have persuaded the local government to provide subsidy to print the booklets of anti-child sexual abuse and to distribute them to all the children in the city. The fourth is that to train all the social workers in local communities to become professional lecturers so that they can teach the provision knowledge to families and parents.
The third part of our project is our cooperation with the Yan'ai Foundation based in Hong Kong. This foundation has built more than 200 primary schools and middle schools throughout the 20 provinces in China. So it helped us successfully contact those schools it built, so we can bring our class to these schools which are located in different parts of China, and most importantly, the rural areas where children suffer the most from child sexual abuses. So what we do exactly is we train those female teachers through our online platform to help them get the certificates and become professional lecturers, so that every single school can have their own teaching group, and internally every generation student can benefit.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. So first of all, it's such a great honor to be here today to share our stories, our passion, and our project to you. So my name is Xueying.
My name is Xihang.
We're together representing UWC Changshu, China here today. Okay, so to begin with, I want to share with you a story first. So last year, after the traumatic experience of watching the Korean film that I mentioned in the video above, I went back to my primary school, asking the principal if it's possible to deliver the prevention education to the children there. But shockingly, the principal refused, and the reason he gave us was that recently, a mother came to him, reporting that their child was sexually abused by her teacher in the school. But the school thought there was no witnesses or evidence, so it may just be making up stories. So if the school allowed us to teach the children about anti-child sexual abuses, then they're afraid that the public may think it's because there have been more children have been sexually abused recently again in the school, thus ruining the school's reputation. So, as you can see, to convince the teachers in the local Chinese schools is really difficult. But that's why we're doing it. We think we should change when change is hard. So the shame culture of sex-related topics in China, this shame culture prevents us to teach the students. But if this prevent us to teach the students, and so that's why the teachers and parents all the time avoid mentioning anything related to sex, even not a word about it, even not mention how to openly discuss how to prevent sexual abuse. So the absence of this prevention education makes the children even not aware of how to draw the line between sexual abuse and normal behaviors. And second, besides the shame culture, as you can also see from the rejection from the principal, most Chinese administration don't often consider this as very urgent due to the relatively low possibility of being sexually abused, and also don't prioritize this prevention education due to the limited budget. So there is a serious lack of coordinated government efforts in China. And the third, since over 50% of Chinese children are from the rural villages, and they're very lack of parenting and educational resources. So their awareness of sexual abuse is really particularly weak. So this number I want to mention here, above all the three critical causes, we think personally the real root cause of this issue in China is because most people think that sexual abuse won't happen to them or to their children. So it might just be 0.0001%. But from my perspective, we say if it happens, even if only one case happens, it will be 100% lifelong detrimental influence to that child. So we have, over the past 3 years, over the past 2 years, we have taken a lot of efforts and actions. First of all, we deliver the prevention education in the local schools. So now we have 50 teammates working together in the team. And we have already 24 professionally trained teachers. We have already taught over 2,000 children on how to react, especially facing sexual abuse. And also the second, through the comprehensive protection system that we built with the local government, over 0.1 million children in the city will be covered over the next 2 years. And the third, through the online training that we deliver in 220 village schools, over 1.1 million children in the whole nation of China will be covered in the next 3 years. And I'm going to hand to my partner.
Okay, so my partner Xueying has just talked about what we have already done in the past 2 years. Now I'm going to talk about what are we doing for the future with the funding money. So the first thing we are doing is we are working with the Women's Federation department of our local city. We want to work together to organize those parents in each neighborhood. We organize them together to give them the courses on how to identify if their children have been sexually abused, and if that happened, how should they deal with it appropriately. The second thing we do is we also want to enlarge the scale of our team. So we are incorporating more non-UWC people in our local community, like the young students from our neighboring universities. We train them and we reimburse them for the transportation fee of going to different schools and to teach those students. And the third thing we do is we are going to spend the money printing more booklets that we have mentioned in the video for those village schools, because those booklets are a very important part of our teaching. And for those village schools under the Yan'ai Foundation, they actually have a very big scale of the student body, they have on average 5,000 students in each school, so it costs lots of money to make sure that every student have got the booklets. So those are the things we are doing for the future. But now I want to draw your attention to the story that we have mentioned at the very beginning. So we've just said the principal of the school refused us because he didn't want to ruin the reputation of the school. But however, we actually went to convince different schools, and we got confused. We got refused by different reasons. Some schools tell us this topic is so sensitive, and some schools tell us the parents won't agree to accept to have their children to have this class. And some schools just tell us, "You're so young. We don't believe in you." We sometimes be disappointed at those schools, actually. But sometimes we also have some doubt on ourselves. We're sometimes wondering, are we really so young to teach those courses? Or are we really well informed enough to answer the questions coming from our students? Or when I take the taxi from my UWC school to the government department to talk with those government officials, am I really convincing them, or I'm just wasting the gasoline? So because of those questions, we got answer for some of them, but for some of them, we don't really know, because it's sometimes really hard to measure how much impact you actually have on people. So here comes the question. If it's really hard to measure how much impact you actually have on your local community or on the people you are helping, should we still fight the uphill battle? Our answer is yes.
Yes, because we're change makers, and that's where you can help us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, UWC Changzhou team. What a fantastic project, in the hope that the future generation, much less or no woman, will have to use the hashtag #MeToo. One of my favorite quotes was, "It's difficult, this is why we are doing it. We think we should make change when change is difficult." Next on, we will travel to India. There we go, to UWC Mahindra College. We will be hearing from the Amavasya project, which will be presented to you by Helena and Lenya, although more of their team members are in the room. Helena is from Ethiopia and the UK and is interested in development and social justice issues. And Lenya is from Switzerland and is passionate about health concerns and wants to pursue a career in medicine. So let's watch the UWC Mahindra movie and then hear from the team members.
Periods are not talked about enough, and we want to change that. The reality of menstruating women within our local community in rural Maharashtra, India, is defined by stigma and shame, which is reinforced by the lack of education surrounding periods. The idea of periods as impure, propagated by religious beliefs, encourage improper menstrual hygiene management, often seen in the form of unhygienic cotton cloth.
पिरियड्स हे म्हणजे आमच्या गावात, आमच्या समाजाने तरी मला नाही माहिती का, म्हणजे त्यांना असं विचित्र प्रकारे त्यांना समजले. म्हणजे पहिल्यांदा जेव्हा प्रॉब्लेम आला तेव्हा तेव्हा आमच्या घरच्या लोकांनी मला असं म्हणजे नाही बाहेर वगैरे बसायला सांगितलं. ते मला खरंच कधीच पटत नव्हतं. पिरियड्स काय येतात हेही मला कधीच माहिती नव्हतं. म्हणजे ते कशामुळे येतात वगैरे म्हणजे ह्याची काहीच माहिती कधीच नव्हती. ते लोक सांगायची हे पिरियड्स वगैरे म्हणजे देवाने दिलेलं काहीतरी आहे आणि पिरियड्स जेव्हा येतात ते देवाला आवडत नाही, तेव्हा घरात वगैरे बसायचं नसतं. ते 4 दिवस जेव्हा पिरियड्स येत राहतात तेव्हा आम्हाला बाहेर बसावं लागतं. म्हणजे आमच्या समाजानं ते तसं लिहूनच ठेवलं असं वाटतं कधी कधी.
As a group of 6 women from the Mahindra United World College of India, located in rural Maharashtra, we wanted to instigate that change. Our project, Amavasya, is inspired by human-centered design insofar as we believe that the people facing these challenges have the solutions themselves. At the center of our project, the local team of 11 outspoken and engaged women will start community-wide discourse and raise awareness about menstrual health. We believe these women possess the power and agency to bring change to their own communities and ensure the continuation of the project.
खाली लड़कियां उसमें इन्वॉल्व नहीं होके गांव में जो यंग लड़के हैं उसको भी इन्वॉल्व कर सकते हैं. वो समझ सके लड़कियों की कि उनको जब पीरियड्स आते हैं तो वो गंदी बात नहीं है, वो अच्छी बात है, क्योंकि उनको एक जब पीरियड्स आते हैं तब उनको एक अलग नज़रिए से देखा जाता है कि लाइक वो अच्छी बात नहीं है। तो इसके लिए पहले जो गांव में यंग लड़के हैं उनको समझाना इम्पॉर्टेंट है, और उनको वहाँ पे लेके इन्वॉल्व करके, तो उनको लाइक छोटी सी एक्टिविटी लेके या
For a woman, menstruation is a main part of her health. If she get regular period, that means she is very healthy woman. I have also don't know about many information about that, but I want to take that more information, and I want to tell my villagers women in my family.
The focus team will act as positive deviants and create the format and content of the educational curriculum in the community discourse, designed to best reach the intended audience, which will include men in the community. In tandem, a facilitation to more sustainable menstrual products, which are currently locally not available, will be made. By combining these factors, we hope to connect women with their own bodies and enable them to make informed choices regarding their menstrual hygiene management. Through this process, we, alongside the women, will be developing a capacity to create changes within our communities as we work towards building skills and confidence. We hope for their influence to be spread to other communities facing the same stigma.
I also took a session with the school boys and girls, like 8th standard and 9th standard and 7th standard, and they said me, now they understand what's the period, what's the sex, what's everything else about the like biological problems. They said me like elder sister, they said if you need us to tell the other people, then they will can help me. And I think if the young people, young boys, girls can understand, then we can convince the other people.
The fact that menstruation is perceived as a private issue that women need to confront on their own emphasizes the scale of the problem. We want to break the silence and face it as a social justice issue.
Thank you. My name is Lenya.
My name is Helena.
And we are here today to present on behalf of the Amavasya team from India.
When I first got my period, I thought I had cancer. This is what one of our peers, Sharayu, said when she recounted it to us. She didn't know what menstruation was, and it meant that she was left in a state of utter fear and panic. And unfortunately, her experience isn't an uncommon one. This is what happens when there isn't basic education and awareness about the issue because it's tabooed. It highlights just how much these social norms and these entrenched myths can stop women from reaching their full potential and can have really detrimental and traumatic experiences.
Many of the women in Ast and Saurgao, the two villages we've been talking about, use a folded piece of fabric to collect their menstrual blood. But this cloth leaks. Imagine having to walk around the whole day in a blood-soaked piece of cloth. The only alternative to these cloth pads, to this piece of cloth, are menstrual disposable pads. But they are expensive, and not many women in the villages can afford them. And even the ones who do often use one pad for an entire day, compromising their health. Komal, a local women's rights advocate, highlights the tension between knowing how to use pads safely and simply not having the resources to do so. This illustrates how complex this issue of menstrual hygiene management is. Awareness by itself is not a solution if it's not paired with the resources to put the knowledge into practice. Our project is centered around providing absorbent cloth pads and menstrual cups, both of which have been used successfully in previous initiatives, as we've heard from Umra. Thank you for that.
However,
Nevertheless, simply providing period products only solves one part of a complex problem. Period products can't fix prejudice. And we, as a group of students in a foreign context, can't fix prejudice either. Or at least not without the direct involvement of the women who actually face the prejudice.
This is why we're going to be having these 12 motivated and strong women spearheading the intervention. What they're going to be able to do is design and implement an intervention that's going to fit the contextual needs, because they obviously know it much better than we do. What we can provide, on the other hand, is to try and find the access to the resources in terms of these reusable menstrual products that they will be able to distribute in this intervention. Another thing that we can provide is to tap into some of the expertise we have been able to acquire through our mentors in the UWC network. So, to put it in perspective and to talk about the kind of impact we'd be having, I'd like to paint a bit of a picture in terms of time. So a woman spends on average 6 to 8 years of her life menstruating. And it's absolutely essential that those 6 to 8 years don't represent a time where she needs to compromise her dignity, her comfort, her financial security, or even the environment around her. What we could do by providing economically viable menstrual options, like for instance a menstrual cup, that you only have to buy once in 10 years versus buying pads every month, it'd mean that women won't have to spend that hard-earned income on tax-ridden, chemical-filled, and also polluting menstrual products.
One of the problems that women in Asta and Sauergau face is the disposal of their menstrual waste. Many women we talked to recounted that they personally have to go and bury or burn their menstrual waste. We hope that through providing products that don't create any waste in the first place, women no longer have to go and dig holes in their fields to dispose their menstrual waste. Another problem that the woman told us about, and we've seen that in the video when Dipali was talking about how her family reacted to her getting her period, is that women are forced to sleep outside the house. We hope that through our social and educational workshops, we will be able to encourage women to reclaim the narrative of their own body. At the same time, we acknowledge that this is a complex problem and that community-wide discourse is absolutely necessary in trying to challenge the social norms such as banishing women from their homes when they are on their period.
In India, over 20% of young girls leave school when they first get their period, and most of them don't return. We don't think it's fair and it shouldn't persist that a girl has to be yanked out of her classes and her learning because her school doesn't have the basic facilities or the support for her to manage her menstrual needs. It shouldn't be a trade-off between having an economically viable and environmentally sustainable and a comfortable menstrual practice. With the necessary funding, what we'd be able to do is provide the local team with professional capacity building skills so that they can be the coordinators of this project in their own context. And then we'd also be able to provide 125 menstruating women in Azde and Sauergau with a menstrual kit each comprising of a menstrual cup and a set of reusable menstrual cloth pads for whichever they prefer. And lastly, the other members of the community that would be impacted are the men, the young women, and the older women. And what this would mean is that we'd have, through the educational component, an open discourse, making sure that we're bringing this issue to the table and outside in the open for everyone in the community to discuss and not just have it hidden away.
We also want to impact the people on our own campus. If we are going to introduce sustainable menstrual products to our local community, we need to bring the same change to our own school and hold our peers accountable for using menstrual products that don't produce any waste. We want to get 90% of the people on our campus to switch to a sustainable menstrual product.
We understand that there are a multitude of different and difficult, complex factors that make this issue what it is. It's not going to be easy to tackle it. However, we do feel that by being able to be here and to start this conversation in Yerevan today, we're taking a step in the right direction. And we'd like to express our gratitude to Aurora for putting us in the kind of space where we can come here and talk about an issue that's too often stuffed behind bathroom doors, and to stand on the same platform where Umra was able to talk about a very intimate but important experience. And finally, to give this issue the attention it really deserves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahindra team. Thank you, Helena and Lenya, for this presentation. And now, for the final and third project, we will be changing continent and will move to Africa, and more specifically to Swaziland. There. And we will hear from the Waterford Kamplaba UWC of South Africa team. The Mpaka Peers project will be presented to you by Ronja from Finland and Elsa from the USA. They are both passionate about education and about creating educational system which gives students equal rights and access to education. And when you hear about the project, you will understand how their passion and the project fit together. So let's watch the Waterford movie.
I was the only French student, and the school had arranged to find a room for me, the only refugee who had survived to reach Form 5 to successfully graduate in Baga High School's class of 2014. The rest had either dropped out or failed and had to repeat Form 4. In a split second, I had thought about all this, and the realization that I was the only remaining student from the camp caught me off guard. I had so much going on inside my brain. My name is John Michael Kwafi, originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of British Columbia in Canada. I lived in Baga refugee camp from 2012 to 2014 before I got a full scholarship to attend UWC Robert Bosch College.
The Mbaga Peers is basically it's a group of us here at Waterford and a group of youth members at Mbaga working together to sort of share our resources and experiences to broaden our own horizons and understandings, and also to help out with the things that we have available to us here at Waterford, like educational support, and sort of sharing that with our friends at Mbaga.
So we got the idea to this project when some of the students from Waterford Kamplaba visited the Impaka refugee camp to talk with the youth and also the teachers at the local high school about problems and struggles that the young people at the camp are facing in not just their academic life, but also in their everyday life.
The lack of educational support and facilities is a significant problem in Baga.
Teachers are teaching in Siswati, and whenever you tell them that you don't understand, they like, I'm trying to make the Swazi understand because they don't get English well, and it becomes challenging to us because when it's time for test, you'll be like, ask the question and you won't be able to explain it well because the teacher was explaining in Siswati.
We kind of wanted to find out ways in which we from the school could help them succeed and what we can do to help them and to support them. But what was also important was that we wanted to make it a project where we're not just going there to give things, but rather us all working together as a group and also shaping friendships and bonds that can help us develop something that will be more sustainable in the long term.
I strongly support Mbaga Peers Aurora Humanitarian Project because of the kind of empowerment, educational empowerment, and long-lasting positive impact it will have on the youth living in Baga, and its experiential learning aspect for the Waterford students. It is through such initiatives that we can get more young refugees to succeed, and I believe I share this conviction with you all.
Before you began your journey, you went to school, you read books, you laughed with your friends, and you did not know danger. As an orphan of the Rwandan genocide, you knew that mothers are killed and fathers do not live to meet their sons. You know this your whole life, but it did not weigh on you until the day you had to run. You were running with no place to go, no idea what you were running from. You found yourself wandering through the streets of Dar es Salaam, hungry and afraid. You spent 3 months in Malawi as a security guard. You lived under a bridge in Mozambique where children sleep outside and it is nothing. Now you are 19 years old and you're struggling to find that self again. That self who was a schoolboy. You became a man too quickly and you now struggle to stay still and quiet. But you know that one day you will no longer be a refugee. This is the story of Ariel. Ariel is one of the young refugees currently living at the Impaka refugee camp in Swaziland. Just like many of his friends, Ariel has gone through things which most of us can't even imagine. Traveling through half the African continent with no money, food, or shelter. And when now settled at the camp, the young bright minds like Ariel are trying to receive education and start building futures outside of the camp. However, as heard in the video, the resources for this are very limited.
And some of the main struggles faced by the young refugees is the language barrier, the missed grades over the years, and the trauma carried on from the past, which makes learning very difficult. However, these young refugees have such a passion and motivation to learn, and they just need help with these resources, which is why we created this project. Impact Appears is a collaborative project between UWC students and the young refugees at the camp. Our aim is to support the young refugees academically while also building long-term friendship between the UWC students and the refugees. And our goal is to make sure that every young refugee on the camp will have a happy, healthy future outside of the camp. And to do this, we've created a project which is parted into 4 components, all working simultaneously.
Each of the individual components was started by UWC students from all over the world, from a diversity of backgrounds, focusing specifically on what they were most passionate about. Last year, we were approached by the leaders of the Mbaga youth group, which is a group of about 125 refugee students between the ages of 15 and 20 who work together to overcome nationality and other such boundaries to work together at the camp. And they asked us if we could streamline our efforts so that we could all work together and create an even more diverse, even more effective project.
So the first component of our project is called English Language Support. And this is a group that brings together students from Waterford and Impaka to together practice their English through workshops and peer-to-peer discussions. It's a very important group in making sure that every young refugee can have a good base of English, since this will be necessary for schooling in Swaziland. The second component of the project is called Math and Science Tutoring. And it brings students from Waterford who have a great passion in the subjects of science and math, and they bring them to the students at Impaka where they can tutor their friends while also receiving some revision for themselves.
The third component is Sports for Girls, the objective of which is to create a safe space for young female refugees to exercise and participate in physical activity, something they're often banned from because of the harmful and incorrect stereotypes about what sports do to women's bodies. Because of the sway that Waterford has in the camp, we find that when we play with the girls, they're also able to participate. And so we hope to create a space where they can create their own teams and practice physical activities even when we're not there.
Many of the young refugees at the camp also have great passions and talents in various creative fields, but there's not really a platform where to practice these, which is why the last component of our project is called Creative Passions. And it's a group that brings together students from our school, Waterford and Impaka, with similar interests. And it creates a platform where the students, through theater, poetry, and dancing, can not only practice their skills together, but also form friendships with other young people who have the similar interests as themselves.
And over the past year, we've had some phenomenal sessions from which we've come super energized and excited to continue. But in order to keep up this momentum, we want to meet every other week, especially around exam time, when it is crucial for students to pass through their grades quickly before they age out of the system socially and financially and are no longer able to go to school. The issue is that the cost of transportation is often prohibitive, not only for the refugees, but also for Waterford students, as we come from a wide diversity of backgrounds. With more funding, we could also help out with the basic things that are needed for our program, like stationery for refugee students who aren't able to take notes even in school, let alone in tutoring sessions, or providing kits for girls who want to play sports. Something else that we really want to integrate into our passion program is that a lot of refugees played instruments in their own countries and were not able to bring these instruments with them when they fled. We want to be able to support everyone in their passions and their excitement and provide them with tools that we don't necessarily have. And all of this is possible, however, not just because of a financial capital, but because it's a human capital. We all are trying to work together. And we do this through the Nguni Bantu philosophy of Ubuntu. Ubuntu, for those of you who don't know, means family, but it carries the connotation of solidarity, togetherness, working as humans to help other humans. And is there anything more essentially UWC than that? As a family, we introduce younger students to the refugees, and refugees feel comfortable telling us when what we're doing is working and when what we're doing is maybe not exactly what's needed. We create relationships that last after graduation, as seen by our alumni supervisor, John Michael Coffey, who's both a UWC student and an Mbaga refugee. And this connection, this family, is what really encourages us to keep going, even if the finances aren't there. Because what we want to do is create a world in which our friends are no longer refugees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Waterford, and here is to the power of Ubuntu and of tribes. Before the jury leaves the room to deliberate and have the horribly difficult task of actually deciding a first place, I think we ought to give another round of applause to all three teams. Well done, everyone. And I thought, just for the record, I should also add that UWCs are not girls-only schools, because you could definitely get that impression. We do have almost 50% boys or men studying at our schools, but it seems that the humanitarian projects are simply rocked by the women, so hence only females here. So can I now invite the jury to move to what I hear is a beautiful place with a beautiful view, but not to be distracted by that, but to focus on your task, and we will see you again in about 20 to 25 minutes. Yeah, that we always take a selfie with everyone. So I thought everybody probably at this stage feels like getting up, so why don't we all get up, because then you have to sit down again. And then we will, and I'm not actually quite sure I will manage to do this. We'll try to have a selfie. Ooh, it works. Okay, can everyone wave? Yay! Cool, that will be on Twitter in a second. Thank you. So we'll continue that. Thank you very much. And we will be passing the time we have while the jury is deliberating to hear about some of the, and people are leaving, so maybe we should give them just a few moments, to hear about the projects which made it to the final of the 2017 Aurora Humanitarian Prize. Last year, the final projects came from UWC Robert Bosch in Germany, and then from two UWC colleges you already heard about today, and that is Mahindra College from India and Waterford from Swaziland. So it seems they are especially strong in actually submitting very good project proposals. And we are really lucky that we have representatives of those two schools here today. And so I'm inviting Pelham Lindfield Roberts to come up and Fiona Mills. Pelham is the current head for a few more weeks of UWC Mahindra College, and Fiona Mills is heading the community activities and social services at Waterford, and they will share with you a bit what having been part of the Aurora Humanitarian Project did for their schools and for the projects and for the students who participated last year, and they also brought some pictures so you can see what happened.
So good morning, everyone. Before we start, I just want to compliment the whole Aurora organization for giving the opportunity for the students to come here, and just to say that it's really on behalf of us both that we see this as one team rather than one team winning. Whoever's chosen as the final team that is successful, it's really a huge team effort, and it's been enormously rewarding for me to listen to Umra, who I taught peace and conflict, so I taught her peace as social justice. I had volunteered in Waterford. I'm working at Mahindra College for about 2 more weeks, and I'm about to move to Changshu, so I absolutely had to be here today. But between us, we felt that what was really important to say was how enormously positive the experience of coming here has been for the team that was here last year and for the teams that are here now. That there's not just one winner, as I've mentioned, that the funding and support is one part of this, but to say to all of you, if there is a will, then there is a way, and to thank the Aurora organization for acting as a catalyst. We are going to say a little bit about what the project was about, each of us, and then we'll talk an update on what's happened in the last year. Fiona, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, and again, it's a privilege and an honor for the team from Waterford to be here, as we were last year, and to be involved in this Aurora project. So last year, the Waterford project was something called Brave Girl, which was a way to empower young women in Swaziland. And the way they did this was they selected 50 girls from schools close to Waterford in Imbabane, Swaziland, which is the capital of the country. And they brought those 50 girls to Waterford, to our campus, for a week-long residential course. The girls lived on our campus. They were mentored every day. They had a variety of activities from early in the morning till late at night, in which they taught them public speaking. They dealt with women's health issues. They talked to them about positive body image, about being able to be in control of your body and being able to say no when it was important to you. And all these activities were done in the forms of workshops over the week's residential course. The week culminated with a dinner on the Friday evening, in which we invited all the girls' parents, mentors, Waterford staff, and our principal gave the keynote address. There was such a positive reaction to this camp, and there was one particular girl who was 18, and I will try to quote what she said afterwards. She said, "This was the chance of a lifetime. I'm more confident, I'm more articulate than I've ever been before." And as a result of Brave Girl and the work that she did there at Waterford, she decided to apply for a Yale Young Scholarship Program, which she got. She then won a scholarship to Cyprus University, which she has gone to, which she'll be starting in September, and she attributes it all to the skills that she learned at the Brave Girl camp. So that was the project that Waterford initiated last year through the help of the Aurora project.
So Mahindra College team came here last year with a project which, so just to give you a context, Mahindra College is located in rural Maharashtra near the city of Pune, with 7 villages near the college. And that provides an outstanding context for our students to work. And one of the things which I think comes from many of these projects is the opportunity for our students to work with professionals and NGOs working in the field. And our team last year came up with the idea of looking at a public health issue, which was the presence of anemia, iron deficiency in the population around the college because of changing diets. And they came here to present a project to distribute what has been called, particularly in a project in Cambodia, an iron fish to put into the cooking utensils to enable anemia to be tackled. And they involved themselves in mobile health clinics and with the Family Planning Association. They gathered baseline data survey, and in the context of the iron fish, because of vegetarianism in India, they converted that into the iron leaf, which they then used for the work that they did in the villages. And it was a huge catalyst for them to come to Armenia last year, and then to do the work since then.
And Brave Girl has continued to get stronger. I think that Aurora gave them the platform and they got the money to be able to kickstart this project, and it has really become synonymous with women's empowerment in Swaziland. In fact, when I go to places and speak to people, I say, I'm from Waterford, Kamklaba, they say, oh, Brave Girl. It's been featured in the press in Swaziland, and we've been asked to make keynote speeches at events both in Swaziland and South Africa. Our students have really embraced the project, and we have a very strong team going forward for 2018. We've got new leaders of the group who will bring their own twist or spin to the project, but again this year there'll be a residential week on the Waterford campus where we've expanded it from 5 schools to 8 schools now, so we'll be able to accommodate slightly more girls this year, and so it's going from strength to strength. As an aside to that, some of the boys, because we do have boys at Waterford, have decided to set up a project that they go into schools to empower young men to help empower young women, because we can't empower young women unless the boys and the men are on side with the project. So these are 2 young Swazi men who are in our IB2 class, and they are going to go into schools to talk to young men, young Swazi men, about the cultural issues and the way they treat women, so that through their projects we can empower young women through empowering young men. So it's going on. The camp will take place in the 2nd week of August, and obviously running a camp like that is an expensive project, and so last year we were able to get the money here to start that project, and this year, through a collaboration between Waterford Club in Swaziland and UWC SEA in Singapore, we've been able to fund that camp this year through money donated from Singapore. So we're continuing to work. We'd like to thank Aurora for the impetus and the kickstart that they gave to this project, which I'm sure will be a continuing project in Swaziland, I hope, for many years onward.
So I'd like to thank Veronica for inviting CEOs to last year's Aurora Prize Awards, and hope that there are many CEOs sitting here in the audience today, because last year our team was lucky enough, even though they didn't win, to catch the attention of the CEO of Unilever, Paul Pullman, who had a friend who was the CEO of Lucky Iron Fish, which in India had its headquarters in the city of Pune, which is near to the college. And that created an opportunity to get the funding and the energy and the support to really make this, get this project going. And as a result of that intervention and that work, our students were able to discover through their baseline survey that 90% of the families in the villages around the college, the women were suffering from iron deficiency. And through their intervention, they've worked with 80 families, so reaching perhaps 400 individuals. In fact, the data shows that the iron deficiency suffered by the families around the college is below the World Health Organization data minimum and above the government of India, in fact, so they weren't able to access supplements to increase the iron in their blood through the government intervention. So the work was really vital for these many families. And the team last year were able to produce a booklet which they could distribute to show how to use the iron fish in the cooking, and the success of the project is very much in that, and there's a strong hope that subsequent generations of students at Mahindra College will keep the project going. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you. We actually still have a few minutes, so what I would like is to open up the floor to any questions you have about last year's projects or also this year's project, because with the jury being out, we can't influence them anymore. So if there's anything you would like to ask either Pelham or Fiona or any of the teams from Mahindra or Changju or Waterford, then fire away.
Thank you, Pelham. Hello, Fiona. This question is for you. I'm from Changshu. My name is Simon. We actually run similar summer camps for children of migrant families in China on our campus. And one of the challenges we face is also financial. We would like to give full scholarship to students who would like to come. However, due to cost of transportation, boarding, and the food, we cannot do that. And I'm hearing similar story for your camp. So in order to make something of this scale more sustainable, what would you say to the students in your school and also in my school to create a platform for funding in order to carry this on?
Thank you, Simon. Yes, of course, funding is a huge challenge, and we've been lucky at Waterford that the residential facilities, the food and everything for the camp is being provided by Waterford Club. So that came from the school, and then our big factor was transport and also the mentorship program. In order to make it an effective program, we needed to bring in good speakers, good mentors, and that obviously cost something. Many of them have traveled from somewhere in South Africa, and so we've had various fundraising drives within Swaziland. Some of our students who live, whose home countries are outside, have set up funding projects in their own countries to bring money into Swaziland, and through the collaboration, as I said, with other UWCs. So we have a very close relationship with UWC SEA, and we've actually teamed up with one of their women's empowerment projects. Brave Girl work with their project, and through that discussion, awareness campaigns, etc., that's how Singapore came to say, well, why don't we fund the project this year? And then we're hoping that they will send 2 mentors to Swaziland. So it's a combination of using the resources we have at the school, drawing on our friendships and our relationships with other schools, and the students themselves doing fundraising.
Could I just add? May I just add to that? I think something that we've discovered at Mahindra College is we can't take fees that parents or national committees or sponsors are paying for the education of our students to use those fees in the local community. So finding external donors to provide funding for these kind of programs enables us to have money for the students to use with partners to engage in a really professional level of work. And for me, it's extraordinary that the students we've heard today are also studying for an extremely demanding academic program, and in addition to that, they have time to do this work, so congratulations.
Any other questions? Can also be asked in Armenian, we have lots of translators. I would have a question to you, Pelham. From an educator point of view, UWC is so service-focused, and has always been. And having now been at different UWC schools and now having been latest in Mahindra, which is so rooted in its local work, what do you think ultimately, what is it that students can learn through these service projects and they can't learn in classroom? But also, what have you maybe learned what they cannot learn during service? So what was maybe a vision which didn't become true?
It's a really difficult question. What students learn through the service program, what the students learn through the service program is to have empathy with other people who are different to themselves, I think. And I think it's hugely important. One of the experiences of being in a UWC is to connect with and engage with not only your peers, but also people who are from extremely different backgrounds. And the empathy that comes from that, and if you think of empathy, it's one of the most important skills that any leader or any individual can have, is being able to put yourself in the shoes of someone else. And so I think that creates a context for that learning. What are the challenges or what are the difficulties? I think, particularly in India, one of the things we've faced is students are given the message that as an individual, they can do anything they want, they can change the world. And there's a sense that comes in some people, I'm going to India, and it may be the same in other contexts such as Swaziland, I'm going to India and I can do everything, I can change. And there's an enormously difficult situation when they realize that actually it's not so easy. And we hear today of the many possibilities that are coming up, but along with these stories are many stories of a sense of despair with young 16, 17, 18-year-olds who realize it's just not so easy. They arrive in the context of rural Maharashtra and they realize they don't have the language to be able to do anything. So I think these are, but through that challenge also comes a learning.
I'd just like to add something to the service component that Pelham was talking about. Obviously, service is my area, so I'm particularly passionate about it. But I think that at UWC, if we can at least plant the seed in every student who comes through our school, that you need to try to make a difference. As Pelham says, there are always going to be difficulties and it's always going to be hard, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And I think that that's where UWC differs from most other schools, that every student who comes through Waterford should, at the end of their time, they say, I'm not prepared to accept things the way they are. I will try to make a difference. In a small way, in a big way, whatever way it is. And I think that's the strength of service, particularly in the context that we live in, that it's the possibility and the desire to make a difference, which I think is very important.
Final comment from Pelham.
Sorry, I just want to say, today I've changed. I used to go with an expression ETC as 3 key letters which stood for engagement, trust, and community. And today I've changed my little memorizer to be RTC. And I think what Umra told us, and the thing which I found so significant in listening to her, was her willingness to take a risk. And I think in UWCs, if we can get our students to be willing to take that risk. So the RTC from Umra was risk, again, trust in yourself and trust others, and not community, but compassion. And I think that takes me back to the need for empathy and so on. I think those letters for me now sum up for me the essence of what a UWC education can really achieve.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Is the winner from last year from Robert Bosch College in Germany. Some of you were there last year, so what Robert Bosch proposed was to set up an online shop where they would sell artifacts made by refugees who were resettling in Germany. And they were partnering together with one of the biggest social service providers in Germany. And one of the team members was actually going to work directly with the service provider after leaving Armenia as part of his gap year after UWC. And so they have sent us a little film where you will hear the partner organizations speak about the involvement of UWC and where the project is now. Last year, the project was called Do Good. Then they ran into trademark issues. And now it's called Treppe 4, which means staircase 4. And let's watch what they have to tell us.
Mein Name ist Rosa Maria Hamacher. Ich bin die Regionalgeschäftsführung für Nordhessen vom Paritätischen Wohlfahrtsverband. Mit Treppe 4 wollen wir soziale Arbeit zeitgemäßer in die Öffentlichkeit bringen. Ich mag an dem Projekt besonders, dass viele verschiedene Menschen aus ganz unterschiedlichen Bereichen ein gemeinsames Ziel verfolgen. Über einen Kontakt sind wir dann glücklicherweise an das UWC in Freiburg gekommen und hatten dann das Glück, 10 Schüler im Oktober letzten Jahres für eine Woche hier in Kassel begrüßen zu dürfen, die ein phänomenales Konzept auf die Beine gestellt haben. Und dann gab es eigentlich gar keine andere Möglichkeit mehr, als zu sagen, ja, wir gehen jetzt den Weg und gucken, einen Online-Shop zu erstellen, der kleineren und größeren sozialen Organisationen die Möglichkeit gibt, ihre Produkte vorzustellen und eine neue Zielgruppe zu erreichen.
Ich bin Muhammad Riza Hosseini, ich komme aus Afghanistan. Seit 2 Jahren ich bin mit meinen Eltern in Deutschland. Ich helfe den Leuten, kann nicht Deutsch reden. Und so ich lerne erstmal, wie kann man helfen.
Mit dem Treppe 4 Shop hoffen wir nicht nur von Flüchtlingen gemachte Produkte zu verkaufen, sondern auch die Geschichten hinter den Produzenten erzählen zu können. Wir möchten auch Aufmerksamkeit auf die wunderbaren Projekte lenken, die in der Region sind.
So you know where to go shopping when you need the next set of presents for anybody. And the guy speaking at the very end, there was actually one of the students who presented last year. And the German speakers, if there are any, will have noticed how amazingly good his German got in this year. So that's another side effect of Aurora. So the projects have shown the power of youth in bringing together and addressing humanitarian issues and instilling the values and ideals of humanitarian work at a very early age. And somebody who is most passionate about this is Veronika Sonneband, who is with us here today. I've already introduced her briefly before. You will know that she is the founder and the chair of board of the UWC Dilijan in Armenia. She is also on the board of Teach for All here in Armenia, on the IDEA Foundation, and of course the co-founder of the RVVZ Foundation. But let me maybe just add what Veronika is for me personally, having worked with her now for 2 years. And for me, she is a unique example of somebody who always thinks big. So when you work with her and you think you already jumped high, then Veronika will come in and say, you have to jump a bit higher. And she is always right about that. And she is passionate about education and about the need for radical changes in many areas of the education field so that we are ready for tomorrow's challenges. So thank you, Veronika, for always making UWC and me personally jump a bit higher. and thank you for your energy and vision. And now the floor is yours to talk a bit more about why we actually, or why you do all of this and invest so much into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. I didn't know that I'm such a big challenger. Aurora is an initiative that the purpose was to awaken humanity. And it seems that what we saw today, the examples that it really makes its purpose, fits the purpose and fulfills the goal. And there, it is, all these projects, wonderful projects, reminds us that we are all human beings and we share the same planet, and we should be more careful to each other and be more compassionate to each other and to other problems, and to see not only what happens with us, but also what take care what for others. The whole idea of this came up from the idea was to bring all these ideas to the youth, that they understand that there is no need to wait long when you become famous or when you become wealthy to start to help others. So each of us can do it in different scale, and it depends on the attitude and will. And what was achieved that also, and we see already now, even after the second time it was happened, that surprisingly many people do a lot of good things, but the world doesn't know about it. So we are all so much focused on our own priorities and our own goals that we don't see others. So then the first initiatives were started last year by Aurora within UWC Schools to bring humanitarian values to education, to emphasize it more, and encourage young people to do something starting from their school age. But also another result is to go beyond, and to go beyond UWC movement, and attract and connect other initiatives and other very purpose-moved and mission-driven movements to join and do jointly together something good for the future. And I'm glad to announce that from the next year, this Aurora Youth Program will be extended to Teach for All community, and it will make it even more impactful because it will tackle more young people around the world, and they're not only in UWC colleges, but in local communities as well. And we think that after some years, it will become part of general education and attitude. World needs leaders with human values, and we are desperate about it now, and we see what happens in the world. It becomes more and more evident. So I want to also in that I like their Umbra's formula about Sweet Point, that it has 3 components, not about what you love and what you can do, but also this satisfaction and happiness brings you what is good for the world. And this 3rd component makes big difference. So thank you. and looking forward to hear the results of jury.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Before we get to that, you just announced that Teach for All will be joining this initiative as from next year. And we have Diane Robinson with us, who was a jury member, but who now left early to speak to us. She is the Global Project Lead from New York City. Welcome, Diane, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me. I have a little bit of a cold that I'm still recuperating from. My name's Diane Robinson, and I'm actually a Teach for America alumni. I joined in 1994, and I now work at Teach for All as the Special Projects Lead. Very excited to be here. Thank you for having me, and to represent the Teach for All community. Many thanks to you, Veronica, and to the Aurora Humanitarian Project for bringing me to Armenia for the second time. I love this country. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why we're really excited to be a part of this broader community, and especially to be a part of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. First, having just come out of the selection room, I can tell you it was a really tough job. So I just want to congratulate all the teams that are part of this project and underscore how much at Teach for All we value projects like this. It's a real honor, and quite honestly, it's just so inspiring. I wish I'd had an opportunity like this when I was your age. I'm like, oh my God, I could have done so much more in the world if I had been a part of the UWC community and this Aurora community. So anyway, we're really excited to Teach for All to be a part of this initiative next year. So thank you for bringing us into the fold. As many of you may know, Teach for All is a global network of 48 independent organizations, including Teach for Armenia, whose office is upstairs, all working to build collective leadership to ensure all children, regardless of where they're born, can fulfill their potential. And Omar, who was here earlier, talked about how the problems that we're all inspired to help tackle in the world are a puzzle. Right? And at Teach for All, we think of the problem of educational inequity meaning where a child is born. You know, I was born in a rural community in Jamaica. Many people would not predict that I would have ended up going to Vassar College and then getting my doctorate at Harvard, but I did, right, because of the education system that I had. It's a very complex problem to solve, though, right? And at Teach for All, the way we come at it is through leadership. All of our programs, all 48, Teach for America, Teach for Armenia, we're all united by this core purpose of building collective leadership in countries. And the way we think about it is these problems are so complex in communities and in countries that we need leadership in classrooms, outside of schools, in government, in policy, tackling this from all sectors. Right? And we view the teaching experience as being foundational. So every program that's in the Teach for All collective, we all teach for 2 years, and we think we're signing up for 2 years. I myself joined in 1994, thinking I'd do Teach for America and then join law school, go to law school. Here I am, 20 plus years later, still going at this now, tackling this problem globally with many of my colleagues. And, you know, the experience that many of us have in the Teach for All community as fellows who participate in these programs around the world, I think it really contributes to this shared goal that we all have and that the Aurora Humanitarian Project has, especially right now, of creating a better world, not just for ourselves, but also for others. And, you know, one thing I want to plug is that many of you here, I know, are going to go on to university, and I hope you'll think about joining Teach for All programs in your own countries or around the world. All you have to do is get on Teach for All's website and check out where you can apply. So when I talk about the problems that are happening in this world right now, I mean right now when the world is so divided, the future is unpredictable. I think it's now more than ever at Teach for All, we believe we need to prepare our students for the future. We need to create opportunities for our students to engage authentically in a world around them and to solve problems in their own communities. And that's what the Humanitarian Project is about. It's also what we care about at Teach for All. We actually have a value at Teach for All called locally rooted and globally informed. And in defining that, we encourage all our partner programs to think about creating visions with parents, community members for their students that are both locally rooted and globally informed. And by that we mean preparing students to thrive in a rapidly changing and increasingly interconnected world, enabling our students to grow as global citizens who contribute to a world that's more inclusive, more sustainable, more peaceful, and informed by an understanding of what's working inside our own communities and outside of it. So for us, this partnership builds on a partnership that we already have with United World Colleges, where we believe we need to prepare more of the students that our teachers reach to become global citizens. We're really excited. It was exciting to meet the head of the Mahindra College, where we've had many of the Teach for India teachers nominate their students. I was just talking to my colleague Sanaya the other day, who got 7 of her students into UWC schools around the world. So we're excited about building on that partnership by becoming a part of the Aurora initiative. The way we view it is the more of our students that are having experiences going to UWC schools and now participating in these humanitarian projects, it's the more that we'll cultivate a set of values, bedrock values, for what it means to be global citizens. We're excited about this partnership because it's yet another opportunity to help tackle some of the broader problems we're all facing around the world in our local communities, while also being informed by what others are doing globally. I spoke earlier about how we're divided and how the future is unpredictable, and I think Hannah spoke to this also. And our CEO actually wrote an op-ed on this recently. You know, many of us can think the world is a little hopeless right now, but when I'm in rooms like this, I'm super inspired, and it gets me waking up every day, and it makes me think, okay, I'm 20 plus years in, I can do this for another 40 years if you guys are right there with us. So I personally am super inspired, and I know Wendy, our founder, is too, by the youth revolutionaries that we're seeing around the world, from India, reimagining what schools can look like for our kids, and also teenagers, right, in my own country of the United States. I've had the opportunity to meet many of the Parkland students recently, and I'm so inspired by what they're doing to take on gun violence in the US. So I thank you for raising your voices and for pushing that rock up the hill. We're going to be right there with you at Teach for All. And again, thank you for asking us to join this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane, and what fantastic vision for 2019. So we got 2 out of 5 jury members back, which I take as a good sign. Now we have 3, 4, 5, fantastic. Okay. Great. So we will come to the announcement of the 2018 Aurora Humanitarian Prize for UWC Schools and Colleges. To do this, I would like to invite the 3 student teams to come down here, and I think for Mahindra, the whole team come, also the ones who silently were just crossing their fingers. So can I have all the students come back on stage? And can I then ask the jury, 2 of you have been nominated to speak and announce and to hand over the prize. And somebody else? Don't hide behind the head.
Thank you, Hannah. And on behalf of all the jury, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for producing such remarkable projects. Big round of applause again, everybody. I think they just did a fantastic job. You made our job very, very difficult indeed, I have to say. All 3 projects had incredible value. If we start with Swaziland, I mean, the fact the refugee crisis is so important right now globally, the fact that you are tackling it on a multitude of different levels. A few on the jury, Mary and I particularly loved the girls' sport and the fact that you're focusing on that, because that's something, as we all know, is so important. So great from Swaziland. Mahindra, Again, it was the importance of the topic and the importance of this cultural understanding that you really grasped so well. We were shocked with that 20% statistic, absolutely and utterly shocked. And I think the effect that you are going to have in your local community is going to be, without doubt, significant. I particularly also liked the personal example that you chose and the fact that actually you're all going to go back to Mahindra College and change your menstrual protection yourselves. I thought that was spot on the mark, so great from you. And China, well, it was daring. It's a topic that is top of mind that we really need to tackle. I think we were very impressed with the scope of your project and the fact that you were hitting so many different action points across the piece, and we were very impressed with that. I'm not going to announce the winners. I'm just going to say that it was a very difficult decision, and I'm going to pass on to Nubar to do that.
Great. So I think you guys have waited long enough, and I won't make you suffer anymore. So the judging panel had a pretty intense discussion. We weren't given too much time, but I think we covered all of the ground that you just saw summarized. And the winning project was selected as the project from Changshu. Congratulations. You guys stay up here. All of you guys stay up here for 1 second. If I can just present this to the team from Changshu, please come up here. Congratulations. Well done. The award is a $4,000 grant for them to continue their project, and here you go. And then finally, you may know that the two runner-up projects, each were eligible to receive $500 grants to continue their work, but at the last minute, we've had two anonymous donors contribute the additional sum so that all three of the projects will receive $4,000.
Thank you so much, and can I suggest we have one picture with all the jury members and all students? Excellent.
Can you send me that?
Thank you so much, everyone. Congratulations to all the three teams, and especially to the winner from UWC Changshu. That brings us to the end of the 2018 AHP. It's just time to thank everyone, all of you for being here, and the jury for having given their time, and of course Veronica and her whole team. And I think I was always reminded of the saying, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So I will leave you with that. I'm looking forward to seeing you around during the coming days and the Aurora events, and to see you back in 2019 for the third year of the AHP. Thank you very much, and congratulations.